show right now at 560theanswer.com.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Nancy Pelosi opining on impeachment at the Time Magazine 100 conference yesterday. She said, look, I'm going to boil it down and then we'll hear from her. But you have to try to interpret what she's saying. Basically, she said, impeachment is a political question and the answer should in no way be political. See if you can wrap your mind around that.
Okay.
Impeachment is one of the most divisive paths that we could go down to in our country. But if the path of fact-finding takes us there, we have no choice. But we're not there yet. And as I've said in my letter, I said to my members, I say to you, as I said earlier, there are many ways to hold the president accountable. The Congress, the Justice Department may have not decided to use its full power to impeach, to indict. Congress will not be silent in terms of using our constitutional power to find the facts for the American people. But as I said, impeachment is a step that you have to take with this, bringing the American people with you.
Right, meaning persuading them politically, but
we shouldn't impeach for a political reason, and we shouldn't not impeach for a political reason.
It's just...
My head hurts when I listen to her. For more on this topic, we're pleased to be joined by our friend Julie Kelly. She is a senior contributor to American Greatness, amgreatness.com, and she is also, like us, a long-suffering resident of Illinois. Julie, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, guys. Yeah, that hurt.
Yeah, it's not easy to listen to. So you have a piece at amgreatness.com where you're talking about unredactions, but you're talking about a whole raft of documents well beyond the Mueller report. Explain.
Well, look, I find myself in the odd position of agreeing with House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler, who wants the full Mueller report unredacted, all of the underlying documents to support the Mueller report, and to have the special counsel, Robert Mueller, testify before his committee next month. I completely agree with all of that, not for the same reasons, but I think that it's a good move for the American public. At the same time, there are several documents in addition to the Mueller report that should be immediately released and unredacted. And that would start with, obviously, the FISA application on Carter Page, which is still under heavy redactions. It includes the intelligence community report that was issued a few weeks before Donald Trump was inaugurated in January 2017 that alleged that Russian interference was designed to hurt Hillary Clinton and help Donald Trump. A lot of that is still classified for some reason. The scope memo that Rod Rosenstein signed in August 2017, expanding Robert Mueller's investigatory powers. So there are several documents that the American public deserves to see fully unredacted and to see why this whole hoax began, who started it, and the evidence that they used to support it.
Well, okay, but Jerry Nadler 2019 doesn't agree with Jerry Nadler 1998 when it comes to redactions. And so is what you're suggesting here a little bit of a political quid pro quo? Go ahead, you unredact the Mueller report, but you have to give us unredacted versions of all these other documents, too.
Exactly, Dan. You know, we've been told, and you guys have been following this closely, we've been told that the investigation that started in July of 2016 into the Trump campaign started because George Papadopoulos had some drunken encounter with the Australian diplomat in London and alleged that he had information that the Russians had dirt on Hillary Clinton. That was the excuse we've been told. We've been assured that the Steele dossier, which we know is nothing but political propaganda filled with things that still are unverified and probably false, that the dossier had nothing to do with why James Comey started this investigation into the Trump campaign. We need to see the initializing documents that the FBI used to start that counterintelligence probe, because it wasn't George Papadopoulos who was only investigated by the FBI in July 2016. It was 3 other members of the campaign who just happened to be mentioned in the dossier. So we've been told for the past few years the dossier had nothing to do with this investigation. We know that the dossier is bunk. We need to see if that's true or not, because I suspect that it's not.
Well, and what do you think? I mean, if you want to investigate the investigators, how do you feel about, President Trump not wanting current aides to testify before Congress, that he's urging them not to do it?
Well, it depends on who the aides are. I mean, most of these aides have not only been investigated by the House and by the Senate committees who've been investigating this, but also most of them have been questioned by Robert Mueller. So I'm not sure exactly what else they're trying to find. Here's the thing, though, Amy. The House Intelligence Committee asked last year, before it was flipped over to control by the Democrats, about 50 transcripts of testimony given by a variety of people, including Trump's family members and associates. The Justice Department has not yet released those transcripts. So I'd like to see those transcripts first and then determine, whether we need to interrogate these people anymore.
I want to see all those documents as well. But with the issue of redaction, just going back to that one more matter, I mean, you do have a federal statute that limits what the Attorney General can publicly disclose, for example, grand jury proceedings. I mean, that should be redacted, shouldn't it? I mean, some of the other stuff are judgment calls, but that's statutory.
That's true. And there are several references to grand jury testimony in the Mueller report, but there's also vague references to harm to ongoing matter.
Right.
And that is probably less clear. But look, Dan and Amy, these are the same people who just 2 years ago were demanding that Devin Nunes not only step down as chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, but he should step away from the committee and resign totally, because they were fighting the release of his memo from February 2018 that laid out all the FISA abuse from James Comey's FBI. So it's funny how you don't even have to go back to Clinton impeachment. You can go back a year ago to the same people who were fighting the Nunes memo, the same people who were fighting the release of the Page FISA application. Now all of a sudden are for truth and transparency. So, if we're gonna vet everything, let's put everything out on the table that we possibly can.
I like also in your article that you mentioned that you want a list of journalists who are in cahoots with FBI agents. Who do you think that might be?
I think that there are reporters, particularly who started at the Wall Street Journal, who Glenn Simpson used to work at the Wall Street Journal. He has a whole, cabal of friends who are journalists. Some of them now are at the Washington Post. So there are 4 or 5 journalists at least who have been identified in a lawsuit against Fusion GPS. But look, last year, the Justice Department Inspector General identified several journalists who were giving gifts, free tickets, taking them out to dinner, improperly giving free gifts to journalists in return for scoops that the FBI agents would give these journalists scoops. And which includes classified information. Divulging classified information to the media is a felony. So let's say whoever the reporter was who leaked the information about the FISA warrant on Carter Page committed a felony punishable up to 10 years in prison. We don't have there is not one DOJ or FBI official who has been identified for leaking felonious material to the media. We need to know who those people are. And look, going through the Mueller report, Robert Mueller cites many articles, including articles that were sourced with classified information. He also did not charge anyone at the FBI for leaking classified information. So if we're going to charge someone like George Papadopoulos for lying about a date that he got wrong and putting him in jail for a week, why aren't we outing these FBI officials who did real damage to the American public and to innocent people?
Well, right. I mean, otherwise we're relying on Judicial Watch, which obtained through discovery and a deposition of a former assistant director of the FBI's counterintelligence division, a list of people who had access to Hillary Clinton email repositories that were being sought, including former Clinton aide, Chief of Staff Cheryl Mills, and so many others. Her IT staffer, Brian Pagliano, whose name we heard during the whole private server flap. And what Tom Fitton, Judicial Watch, said in a statement, no wonder Hillary Clinton has thus far skated. Barack Obama is implicated in her email scheme as it pertains to classified information. And this goes to something that Holman Jenkins writes about and asks in his piece in the Journal. A few hundred officials with security clearances know the truth behind James Comey's serial interventions in the Hillary Clinton email case. Interventions that began belatedly from press leaks and with some kind of intercepted Russian intelligence that someone placed in Comey's hands. The questions raised by these episodes are monumental and will outlast the war over whether Trump is a nice man or not. Did Comey and his colleagues turn us into Russia, where the intelligence services secretly and incompetently pull the strings of domestic politics? That's one of the big questions it seems we don't have an answer to without the documents you're suggesting and a lot more questions being asked about 2016.
That's absolutely right. And I mean, I think this was part of the investigation into the Trump campaign, was to obscure what had happened with the Clinton email investigation and other investigations that were ongoing, including into the Clinton Foundation. So yes, we need all the information that we can possibly get. There continues to be this drip of information about the Clinton email investigation. But Dan, you just hit on it. People have to remember what all of this fog is about. This is about protecting Barack Obama and his White House, because not one reporter has confronted Barack Obama and asked him what he knew, what his close advisors knew, what Vice President Joe Biden knew about this investigation. No one has confronted anyone in the Obama White House with these questions. We do know that Joe Biden was involved in secret meetings with John Brennan in the summer of 2016, in the fall of 2016, before the election, where Brennan was probably presenting the dossier as legitimate intelligence and justifying this investigation into the Trump campaign. So we have these journalists running around chasing ridiculous stories or, illegally leaking classified information, but no one has asked Barack Obama or Joe Biden what they know about this. This is all part of the cover-up for protecting the Obama White House, which we saw for 8 years when he was president, and we're still seeing 3 years later.
Mm-hmm. She is Julie Kelly, senior contributor for American Greatness, amgreatness.com. Her latest column, check it out there. Unredact all of it. Julie, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
You too.
She joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's